a lot of people, unfortunately. Coming up, we're going to discuss this on this episode of Break It Down with Brian H., brought to you live by Haps TV.
No, baby, that's for somebody else. We're just going to keep you right where you're at right now.
It doesn't matter what you think.
The Wrestling Realm presents Break It Down with Brian H.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wrestling Realms Break It Down with Brian H. Keeping it 100. I'm your host, Brian H. Waters. This show, of course, is brought to you by the Wrestling Realm. If you haven't done so, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Make sure you tell everybody about it. Make sure that you share the broadcast. Share it with your friends, your family, anybody you know who love wrestling. Go ahead and do so, as I am doing that right now. So that's the reason why I'm kind of caught up in between two worlds. So WWE has released a lot of people. It's been reported earlier today. So unfortunately, it's a Black Friday for some folks, and I don't mean to be making fun of anyone. But it's the truth. It's unfortunate, but when you think about it, you see a lot of people that's not being used. So shout out to those wrestling girls. They just tweeted, I wonder how they determine who gets released. Let me know, talking this right now, and just shouted you out. So it do make you wonder who gets released, right? Because it's unfortunate that these things happen. So today we saw Everrise get released. Now I've been watching NXT, but it's disrupted the way I've been used to watching it, right? So Wednesday nights for about a year, I would watch it in a sense of, okay, I'm watching, my Wednesdays was blocked off. I had a tablet with AEW and a TV with NXT or vice versa, depending on the program. Then I was like, all right, cool. You know what? Now they're on two different channels, 2 different days. I can watch it on a regular basis. However, the thing is, a lot of times, it's a thing called work-life balance. So I'm still trying to get it. So usually I'm watching the heavy storyline. So there we go. That's what I mean. How do I keep up with it? But yeah, Everrise, their release, and a lot of people were saying, Twitter was saying they were the funniest people on the show. Fandango and Tyler Breeze, that's a big one. When you really think about it, that is a big one because you think about what they bring to the table. But at the same time, how much longer are you going to keep doing the stuff that they was doing? It was cool, but how much longer can you keep doing that? So I get why they were released. After a while, it's like it's repetitive, right? They was on the main roster, but then they came back to NXT. So that's where I'm like, you know what? Who knows? Tony Nese had his run as, in the 205 Live Arena, former Cruiserweight champion. But it's unfortunate for him, he getting released. But again, like, to me, the releases are unfortunate. But it's also one of those things where, I'm not gonna lie, it's not like, we aren't too many. I don't see too many people heartbroken over them the way we saw a few weeks ago. Like a few weeks ago, you saw a lot of people who were broken about the releases. Like, man, people see their favorite wrestlers getting released, they hated it. You don't see that too much today. And I wouldn't even go to start talking who's the biggest one. I think the social media backlash really today is the fact that the writer got released, which I'll touch on in a minute. But you don't see too many people getting upset the way you did before. So that's the thing. I think that's the thing that's really unfortunate is seeing that these people are getting released. These people are losing their jobs. That's always unfortunate. Jump in the chat. Let me know what you think. Talk to me about these releases as you sit back and you're seeing all this stuff go down. Let me know, what do you think? The Illest Rican, thank you for jumping on. I appreciate it. Has there ever been a time where we saw so much talent released at different points of the year? That is a good question. He's watching on Twitch. I appreciate that. He is a follower of the Wrestling Realm on Twitch. Make sure you do so. I don't think we've seen this before. And a lot of times, there wasn't no internet. So when somebody got released, you just kind of didn't see them until you picked up the magazine before. And I'm thinking like the 80s and 90s. And then you did see the future endeavors on the WWE.com website. But, social media, we have quick access to information so fast. But I don't think we've ever seen this. Now, there is reports, allegedly, as my cousin always say on his podcast, allegedly, there is reports that Nick Khan is taking all the blame. Nick Khan is taking all the blame because, it's one of those things where he is, I believe, the new CFO. So because of that, he's trimming and I hate to use the word trimming the fat, but I'm gonna use that for a lack of a better word right now. But he's trimming the fat, and because of that, he is willing to take the blame. So people would blame Vince McMahon, but then there's also reports that he really isn't worried about different things such as plans or who's married to who. He's worried about the bottom line. And clearly there's stuff that we don't know when you really think about it in the world of professional wrestling. There's stuff that we don't know that they're working on. And a lot of times we saw this and it wasn't like back and forth, right? We didn't see I think we've had 3 releases. We had the one right after WrestleMania. We had another set about 3 weeks ago, and then this set. So we had your annual WrestleMania release. Then you had the one that when Braun Strowman and Lana was released, but then you have this one. So to the Illest Rica's point, or the Ellis Rica's point, I don't think we've seen this before. But the fact of the matter is this: when you really break it down, you look at it, it's setting up for something bigger. And a lot of times you see something cut back only to make things rise. Unfortunately, I was at ESPN so the crazy thing is, I started after a time where they had just released people. There was a time where they had, cut a lot of production assistants and whatnot. And then I came in 2 months after I left. I left August 2015. 2 months after I left, they did a big release. Now they had just recreated the whole new Sports Center set, but then when they did this other release, they was making additional changes. And then after those changes, we did see that Stephen A. Smith got the bag, Mike Greenberg got the bag, and all that. So I do think it's unfortunate when you see these releases, because then you'll probably hear about something where somebody will be getting the bag. Let's just call it for what it is. So I'm not surprised, but I will say this, and like I said, not to be rude, but there aren't any heavy hitting names. What's always exciting is being able to see, after you get over the initial shock of the releases, it's like, okay, so who's going to where, right? Who's going where? And hopefully they don't all end up at AEW. Hopefully they don't all end up at Impact. In a perfect world, we would see more wrestling feds open up, and then that would allow people to get more it was just let me make sure I tag that right. Cool. Hopefully we get more wrestler feds, and that would allow these wrestlers to, spread their wings a little bit. I would like to see MLW get some more talent. Nothing wrong with the talent there, but I would just like to see them get some more talent. I want to see people go to some of these other indie promotions. Perhaps their presence will bring in the dollars and allow them to pitch the ads, and then boom, they can make more money and pay more people. So that's one of the things I'm looking at. Yeah, but like I said, Tyler Breeze and Fandango, really not surprised when you really think about everything they've done. They've done it all. Once you know, for me, Tyler Breeze was like a Dolph Ziggler, but then he went to the main roster and they got us right into that feud right away. So then afterwards, it's like, so where do you go now? You know, and I knew once he got to the main roster and just kind of flourished and sat there, I said, all right. I honestly, he's been there longer than I thought. Fandango, we remember him being a viral sensation, an internet sensation during that infamous Raw after Mania, Mania 29, but it was also the music. You know, Aria Davari gone, Audrey gone, and apparently there may be more. We don't know yet. So that's unfortunate. I really hope that things can get in order. But I'm interested to see, you know, what are they doing? Will WWE stock shoot up? I ain't gonna lie, that's what I'm concerned about. Will their stock shoot up as they get ready for well, Conan announced a Dynamite segment. That's pretty cool. But will the WWE stock shoot up as they do get ready for a, you know, the next quarter, the next year? So obviously, this guy Nick Khan, if he's willing to take the blame, you know, he knows what he's doing. He's trusted by the McMahon's, what matters the most. And McMahon got to make sure he's trusted because he want to please the shareholders. So, but I also want to discuss the other news of the day. The other news of the young lady, Miss Kenice Mobley, reportedly fired following controversial podcast comments. Now, there's a bunch of ways, a lot to unpack here, in the words of Conrad Thompson, right? A lot to unpack here. You have a black woman, because we're not going to do that. We're not going to ignore her race. But we have a black woman who writing for the WWE. And it's unfortunate that somebody decided, hey, yeah, it's time to let her go after those comments. Now, what I don't understand is when you are doing a podcast, right? When you're doing a podcast, generally, it's two things that happen, right? I know, for those who don't know, I host a podcast, Breaking Through the Glass Ceiling. I know that I go through and I say, hey, what can we talk about? What can't we talk about? I've interviewed former co-workers that I work with at ESPN, but I've also interviewed people who currently work at ESPN. I personally know that I ask questions to make sure that I don't put people's jobs in jeopardy. You know, I do all right, but I can't afford to pay for nobody's job. So that's me, right? I know other people, the people from that's not working at ESPN no more, we tend to shoot. Bottom line, we tend to shoot. So what I don't understand is how was this young lady prepped? She's also a comedian. So a lot of people thought, you know what? Maybe she was just going out there shooting. Maybe she was just cracking jokes. But I do think it's unfortunate that the leash was short on a black woman. Because somewhere, whenever you get a job, folks, no matter where you at, they give you a terms and conditions. They do an orientation. And during that orientation, they have a list of rules and regulations and guidelines. I'm wondering, was this in the guidelines? Was it in the guidelines that you're not to do podcasts? Now, if I want to interview a WWE wrestler, I got to go through the proper channels, that being, I got to go through the media and all that stuff. That's if I want to interview talent. They're independent contractors. So Pretty sure that's why, and other reasons. Now, if I want to interview some of the employees, maybe I don't. Maybe I don't have to. And that's fine. But what I don't understand is, how did this happen? I don't get it. I really don't. I don't understand how this happened. Because if she was if she was out there and she was just allowed to say what she wanted to say, you mean to tell me there was nobody who didn't brief her? Hey, be careful you say this, be careful you say that. The thing that made people mad was she was saying Bobby Ashley, and she talked about her experience. Now, to be fair, I listened to some, but I didn't get through it yet. I didn't get through it. Hey, I'm new. Shout out to Queen Latoya. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Said the independent contractor thing is a lie on WWE's part. Keith Wiley, and I've never heard of a WWE employee getting a podcast interview. So, two things. I've heard, people do say, Miss Latoya, Queen Latoya, that it's a lie. A lot of people, I know Jesse the Body Ventura has been very vocal about that, saying that he just doesn't understand how the company can continue to get away with that, especially considering the fact that they can't do other jobs. But that's the terminology they use. And again, I don't get it. They've been getting away with it for so long. So there's that. And I was thinking honestly, Keith, when I saw that this came out, I saw the quote, I was like, oh, somebody's trolling. That was my first thought. And then my thought was, how are you going to troll and you pick a black woman out of all times? We don't know nothing about any other writers, but then we found out about these writers. They were black women. So of course, Black Wrestling Twitter said, okay, we want to stand behind them. We want to root for them. And we just hope they can do something different. Cool. But then all of a sudden, she's getting an interview. And I'm like, all right. Nah, I'm like, somebody's trolling because they don't get interviews. And then sure enough, I see a video clip. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna check it out. Queen Latoya says WWE won't allow their talent to work in other promotions. Well, remember, also, I guess we got to make sure we just to be clear, because somebody will change the words without their permission. Because we've seen the talent exchange with Evolve. There's rumors of MLW. We do know that when there were pro wrestlers that's passed away back in the day, they were allowed to go work some of those shows. Bret Hart even worked Terry Funk's retirement match. So it's been done before. But again, if they got these independent contractors, how is it that they're not allowed to do other things? But then again, it's still a contract, so I guess the whole compete, non-compete, but they still getting away with it, and it's the whole dues conversation. That's a whole, not dues, union. That's a whole different conversation. But like I said, I'm sitting here watching this thing unfold, and I just think it's so unfortunate that this black woman was fired, because I do think there was an opportunity where somebody could have said, hey, don't do that, or hey, don't do this. You mean to tell me that there are other writers that haven't messed up, all because internally they were upset? And really, she could have just, they could have chalked it up. She was joking. It was a podcast. She was joking. She didn't know who Bobby Ashley was, or Bobby Lashley. She could have just said she was joking. So that's very disappointing that they just up and fired her due to the backlash. Yeah, WWE. I'm not sure if they bought them. That's a good question. I do know they was on the network and they're still on Peacock, so maybe they did buy them. So that's a good point. we can put that on the screen. I forgot about that. Shout out to Haps TV. I can present stuff on the screen. But yeah, let me know what y'all think about some of these releases. Like I said, just looking back at the fact that this lady got fired, lost her job, it's unfortunate. I'm sure she'll bounce back, but you never want to hear about anyone losing their job. I, for one, was excited because I do think it's important. Somebody say, "Well, you need to know something about the product." I said I saw somebody tweet about, and it may have been Emilio Sparks tweeting about having somebody's livelihood in your hand, and then you're tweeting, you're working there and being able to just write about that. You should at least be somewhat familiar. But I think sometimes you do bring in somebody who doesn't know anything, and they're just there to help tell stories. We never saw that she was the lead writer. We never saw that she was in 100% control of somebody's story. So, I think is Peacock worth yeah, we can unhide this. Is Peacock is the name of the brand, Haps. Is Peacock worth buying for the WWE content? Queen Latoya, let me tell you this. I am a huge WWE fan. Like I said, I appreciate you coming on. I hope you subscribe and come back for more. I am a huge WWE fan. There's not too much other television I watch. Oh, Blue Magic want to come in. I'd love to hear that. Come on the show, I should say. But here is the thing. I don't watch too much of anything else, right? I don't watch like I'm starting to get into The Office. So for me, the Peacock is worth paying for, as I know people gonna get on me. And I just sent Blue Magic a link, so he'll be joining me in a second. But Peacock is worth paying for, and it's because I do still get my wrestling content. And quite frankly, YouTube isn't enough. YouTube only gives me a little bit. I like, and when I watch the matches, I want to see the full entrances and everything. He said, I peeped that TNT title. I appreciate it. Shout out to my friend Brandon getting it for me as a gift. My boy Brandon, a guy, one of the used to host the Independent Report right here on the Wrestling Realm. It's on the channel, so make sure y'all check it out. It's old stuff, but it's still cool content. And Blue, I just sent you the link to your Haps TV, your Haps account. So I I enjoy it. It's not the WWE Network. The WWE Network was so convenient. But if you were a fan of the WWE Network, then it's kind of hard to get away from that and watch. You can watch wrestling when you want, how you want, as opposed to waiting for something to drop on YouTube or going through an extensive search. For that, it's worth it. It's $4.99 if you just ban if you don't have Xfinity TV. I have Xfinity, so for me it was $4.99. But for I do pay it's $9.99, I think, if you want the one like the WWE Network with no commercials. I paid extra $4 because I got Xfinity, so I get it free, but I don't want commercials. How did I get the Attitude Era belt? So I actually bought it off eBay in 2011. It was a gift to myself. I was working at Best Buy at the time. The stock started dropping, so I felt it was over. So okay, we got some more releases. They did say, this is breaking news, they did say that Nick Khan did not necessarily care about who you was married to, and this is why this is big, because we do see Roderick Strong's wife, unfortunately, has been released. Killian Dane has also been released. Arturo Ruiz, forgive me for pronouncing it wrong, Kurt Stallion also released. This is all per was it Sean Ross Salt SRS. And my boy Blink is just texting me the same thing. So it's so unfortunate, It is unfortunate, but here's the thing, folks. I think WWE is getting, and this is me being optimistic. I think WWE right now is probably getting some finances and stuff in order, and then I think we'll see some of these people back. Believe it or not, I do. I think we'll start to see some people back eventually. Maybe it's a lesser contract. I mean, Samoa Joe, we saw him back, so I gotta get to this comment. Batman 901, thank you for watching. Hopefully you're subscribed. If not, belt, not plastic. So they're I don't know if you ever had a WWE shop belt or got a chance to see a shop belt, but they're the replicas. So it's definitely made out of something, but it's not the plastic, it's the leather. But yeah, he says, do you feel they're going to have Bianca beat the 4 horsewomen? I think eventually, maybe not yet. I don't think she's going to run through them, but I think eventually we'll see that. He says, I think that's the total tally. This is the Illus Rican releases around 11. So 11 released. So and the text messages are coming in. So right now, just to kind of read this out, the Singh brothers, their release. Let me shout out my boy Blake. I'm reading this on air now. Thanks. So we got Killian Dane, Davari, Tony Nese, Matt Martell, Chase Parker, Fandango, Tyler Breeze, August Gray, Marina Shafir, Samir Singh, Sanul Singh, Arturo Ruiz, and Kurt Stallion. All of them released from the WWE. I heard they edited out the Attitude Era segments on Peacock. Some of them, I haven't watched all the Attitude Era all the way through, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. But I could tell you that I have heard about some of the stuff being edited out. So I haven't, like I said, I haven't watched, but everything isn't edited. I can tell you that because there was a couple segments that I saw. I was like, oh, okay, they kept that in there. But it's not as bad as people may think. But I was back to Keith before I get to Tom's question. I do. I could. He said I got Peacock just to see Banks Belair and decided to keep it for the old school matches. I think that's the thing about wrestling that since what now is 7 years we've gotten accustomed to is that at any given time we want to see a match, we can just go fire it up on the WWE Network. I still have my DVD collection. If I turn my camera around, you would see all of them. But I still have a DVD collection well over 100, maybe 200. But so I don't ever plan to get rid of those. I got rid of my tapes, and now I'm like, man, I probably should have kept it. But I don't plan to get rid of those. As you see, Blue is joining in. I'll be bringing him in a second. But real quick, Tom says we shouldn't be happy WWE releasing wrestlers to re-sign them for less. They do if they want them back. I thought WWE is making big bank. But nobody wants to lose money. It's unfortunate, but I do think they will figure it out. Like I said, Samoa Joe, he came back and just in a different role. But ladies and gentlemen, joining me on here, he's one half of the Mixed Tag Show, which you can find on Twitch, on all podcast platforms, and especially YouTube. He's also a business owner. You could get a cool Juneteenth, a Black Lives Matter shirt if you want to throw up the Too Sweet sign for the NWO. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the man, the myth, the legend. Bro, he is the one and only Blue Magic. Blue, what's going on, brother? How you feel?
What's going on? What's going on, man? How you doing out here, man? It's a hard Friday.
It is, man. It's been a week. I tell you, I clocked out and got right on here. Right after I got finished sending out a bunch of emails. I've been on COVID responses for my job all week, so that's the hardest job to do. So, yeah, what's up, Brian from Texas joining in?
I just got off it myself. I got home. I made me a peanut butter jelly sandwich.
Oh, that sounds good.
I'm still on this little diet, so I'm like little snacks here and there.
Yeah, you good because I kind of like took a step back this week. Not too bad. Like
my trip is next Sunday. I ain't got no chance. My trip is next Sunday.
There you go.
This is crunch time. I can get right now. I'm debating if I should eat next week.
You got this, brother. You got this, man. What you think about all these releases? I know a lot of people upset, but Blue, I'm gonna be honest with you. None of them making me lose sleep as a fan, and I'm not trying to be rude. Shout out to Pablo from the Haps team joining in. Thanks for the high five award, Pablo. Appreciate it. But none of these releases are making me. Killian Dane, it's like, oh man, I was hoping we could see more.
Right,
but what you think?
And this is Over like you said, I'm not losing sleep on any of this except for the woman writer that was released. I don't. Her name is slipping my mind right now. But that's the only thing that's like really bothering me. Like other than that, everything else. Who? No disrespect to the wrestlers over at 205 Live, but who really sat and watched 205 Live? Like some people didn't even know that was still on at this point. So on the business side, like a lot of people like to bring up, on the business side, it made sense to release these people because you know you're trying to save money, you're trying to bring back big names and what have you, and whatever the case may be. Granted, I don't know what you're trying to bring, like how much more money you need to save since last year was your most profitable year. But I get that aspect of it. But it's also the aspect of, like you said, Killian Dane. I wish we could have got way more. I think I had this discussion inside the group. I forgot where I had this discussion. Probably on Twitter at Blue Magic Grind. That the whole Nikki Cross thing. They dropped the ball with Sanity altogether. Yeah. Nikki Cross was the most over member of Sanity. It could have turned around when she became the new leader, and it would have flew perfectly fine. So that's why I had the issue with her. Like, I know she came up with the superhero character, but what superhero character really got over to the point of, to the top outside of John Cena? And that's not even a superhero character.
Hurricane.
You know what I mean?
Hurricane.
The Hurricane. But what I'm saying is, the Hurricane ever win any real titles?
But I get what you're saying, right? And this is I'm not going to claim to know Nikki personally, but I'll say that I've talked to her a few times. I've seen her with the children.
Right. No,
so that's why I see her. Like, to me, I see this working.
Right.
And I think it's easier with a woman than a man because unfortunately there isn't so many women on the roster. And I say unfortunately because that means unfortunately it's not. But then from the fortunate standpoint, the belt can only cycle so many times. So I think she has a better opportunity of having championship goal than, say, a Hurricane did.
Right.
Or Mighty Molly did. Well, Mighty Molly she was hardcore champion, but it was also a different era. But I could see Nikki Cross being the champion.
We'll see how that flies. Like to me, like you know what it is, and a lot of times and I say things when we had these conversations too. Excuse my head, it's like mad, like from scratching. The baldy life, like you scratching, marks come up. But I say this about Naomi too. It's just one of those things where I want so much more for the person. You know what I mean? Because I know their talent and their capabilities. But not to go off the topic of the releases. Like these releases, like the Breezango, like that was to me was probably the most like, all right, wow, like you know what I mean? They was doing so much with NXT, and it was a good division and everything like that. But I guess
I personally was like, what else do you do with them now? Yeah. And another one,
they could have did a turn. Honestly, they could have did a turn. Like I would have loved to see Breezango back into his heel mode, pretty boy status, and turned on Fandango.
Yeah, I thought when he came to the main roster, Tyler Breeze, that is, I thought they rushed the match. What's up, Andre Martin tuning in? Shout out to Brian Caskill. Say I'm not acknowledging him. Also say he's made peace with the 205 was the flavor of the month, just like the women's revolution.
But that's facts. Think about it. Like, I'm sorry. Like the whole thing with the 205 Live situation is like it had so much promise. Because thinking about the Cruiserweight Classics, that's where it came from, and we had people like Ibushi on, like, you know what I'm saying? like I will admit, people were amazing coming through the Cruiserweight Classics. To see it diminish the way it did, it was just
but you know what the problem hurtful. Is, bro? So it's two things, right? One, hold on real quick. I get thoughts together. What I was about to say about Tyler Breeze, I'm felt sorry. No, you good. They rushed him to Ziggler because everybody saw it. They said call him Drizzy. They rushed, everybody saw Tyler Breeze, Dolph Ziggler, the comparisons, and they threw us right there, as opposed to kind of like taking their time, right? But with the 205 Live, for me personally, never a big 205 Live fan. For some reason, and I also could credit this maybe me being older and having more access to wrestling, but when I was watching WCW's Cruiserweights, even though they had no story, it was just to go out there, warm the crowd for the NWO. I was always interested to see what Juventud Guerrero was doing, what Rey Mysterio Jr. was doing, what Eddie Guerrero was doing, right?
Psychosis.
psychosis, you know, and they were like they were misfits in a land of giants, but they were doing those car crash matches. And when it came to WWE, it was just like, I was excited. It was like, it's not the same. So now with 205 Live, I say, well, maybe it's me because I'm older and maybe I'm just not into this, right? I also think 205 Live suffered on live events when it was after the
SmackDown.
show, because you figure
nobody stayed behind for that.
Yeah, I was, you know, here in Baltimore, I've been, you know, at the shows, and I would see people, you know, I would see people leave because, you know, if you're a parent, let's say you're a parent, you're not into wrestling, and you know your child's favorite wrestler is John Cena. At the end of the night, you go tell them, all right, you already saw John Cena, it's time to go home. Now,
not only that, but you also have school the next day. It's time to go home.
Exactly.
Like you're putting these people on at 10 o'clock and people got to work the next day. Like, you're trying to make them stay for another 30, 45 minutes for what?
Exactly. So with that, I understood. Like, I'm like, it sucks, but I get it. You know, I would love to see them do more because there is a audience for it. But I think 205 Live would have benefited better for the NXT style audience. You know, and I realized that's where they kind of going, but it may have been too soon. It says WWE need to release the creative team. I want to touch on that, especially now that you're
here.
With her name, oh man, it was just up. I just had it. Kenice Mobley, Miss Mobley. Here's my issue, and I want to know your point. Obviously, first I thought it was a troll when they said what she said. Right? I was like, when do WWE employees do interviews? Keith said that in the chat earlier, right? So I said, okay, they did an employee interview, whatever. What I don't get is how is she not reprimanded? Right now, you work, I work. Everybody knows I used to work at ESPN. They gave us a list of things we was not supposed to do. You know, one of them, thanks to Steve Phillips, was you could not date talent. If you were behind the scenes, you couldn't date somebody on camera. That was one of the things, you know, but they gave you a list of things you wasn't supposed to do. And then it was one time I was doing blogging just on my own personal website, and they told me, you can't write that. You know, and I was like, y'all don't pay me for my opinion of sports. Y'all pay me to be able to produce sports. Cool, whatever. I don't understand how, because of the internal backlash, because I'm going to go ahead and say it, I think if it was anybody else, not a black woman, she would have had an opportunity to redeem herself. Your thoughts?
Right. And the crazy thing about this is, like, a lot of times, if you realize, I say things in our group chats or whatever that I can't see on the timeline. There's a reason for that. And that's like, it's not like nothing they told me. It's more so like what have I observed. Like, I have, you know, I've worked with WWE on a few things, and you know, I was hoping to, you know, get a position there, and there's people that's trying to look me out and stood up for me. And it's just like, that's why I watch certain things that I say. But I feel like more and more this past like 6 months or so, it's been more like, all right, if it happens, it happens. If it don't, I'm not biting my tongue anymore, kind of thing, right? When it comes to this young lady, I reached out to Kenice and I reached out to Sade from DDT Divas when they first got the hire between her and the other girl. And I did it. Soon after them got hired, I congratulated them. But behind the scenes, I kind of looked at their profiles and realized that we're not wrestling fans. And I was like, this, and I told Kenice and I told Sade, I was like, this is gonna be a problem once people find this out. I already saw it. You know what I'm saying? Like, at that point, everybody's gonna start looking for something, right? But the thing that people fail to realize is that WWE don't like to hire people that know their product.
Right.
They don't, like, it doesn't matter if it's writers, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? They try to avoid that. Outside of being a wrestler and outside of being the referee, look at the announce team. It's people that's not outside of former wrestlers and people that's been in there for a long time. They've had to reach out to sports analysts. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for this to happen, first of all, the young lady's interview was like before she even officially started working. So it's just like, because she said in the interview, she's like, yo, I didn't even start yet. I'm just excited because it was like, how did your mom feel? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how the conversation started. Like, congratulations. She's like, yeah, I didn't even start yet. Da da da. This was the requirements they told me they needed, and part of the requirements was she didn't need to know WWE storyline.
Mm-hmm.
That's not on her. That's on them. Now, she has said that? No, but that's because we know the culture in the community of wrestling.
Yeah.
She's new to all of this.
And you
So
just
they
said
should.
something very key. I did not know that this was pre-taped. I was under the assumption that because so we
No,
both
it
do
happened this
interviews.
week. Like
Yeah,
it just happened this past week. No,
right.
because it was one of those situations. Because she even said it. And here's the thing: in the interview, she even said she asked the hostess. They was talking about it like, "Yo, this is why I had actually take that video down because I was getting ready to go to this interview in case I got the job. I didn't want that conversation to come up."
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so her, like, this is when she just got, she was probably told like a couple of days. And she was like, all right. And she was doing this interview with her friend because they went through the comedic scene together.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like, oh, because you got hired by WWE, let's have this whole conversation about WWE. It's more so like
It's a
her friend
trust
was,
thing.
right? Yeah, her friend was bigging her up for getting a big role like this. And they were just having, a conversation on camera, like most of the podcasters like to do now,
Yeah.
right? Another thing I don't like about this whole situation that she got penalized for is that in the conversation, which nobody's discussing, is that she even though she admitted she doesn't watch the product, that same night that she did the podcast, she have friends come over that do watch wrestling so she could kind of pick their brains and watch the product and learn about the product. She was doing her homework. It's not like she was just like, oh, I got the job, cool. You know what I'm saying? Like she was
Yeah.
doing the homework for it and got penalized her.
See, that's crazy.
And to me, like, and this is what I said, and I said this in chat, and I said it on Twitter, and I say it here. On social media in general, if anybody, we've seen that with Seahawk, whoever, on social media, you're not allowed to make mistakes. You're supposed to be perfect unless you're white. And that's what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're white, you can get a billion of chances to make up for it. But then when it's a black person, cancel culture.
Nah, baby,
Like,
that's
and
for
that
somebody else.
sucks.
Gonna keep you right where you at.
Now I hate that. Like I hate that. And that's why I sit back and I just watch it. Like this sucks. And I saw it coming. I saw she's gonna be the scapegoat. Whether if the show was doing bad, they're like, all right, that's because we tried it with a black woman and it didn't work, or this. Like it was gonna happen. Like and it just I hate to be like I just hate it.
No,
It's stupid.
no, I agree. And it's so unfortunate. I'm glad you brought that up on the show. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to finish the interview. But
I didn't finish. I just watched the meat and potatoes about the wrestling part.
yeah,
And it was just like because I saw what they brought up, like, oh, she said she doesn't watch wrestling. So like, we see the conversation from the beginning, you know what I'm saying, and just actually watch everything that's happening. I watched it like a couple of days ago, and I'm like, all right, like this is not needed. Like, she messed up. She should never did that. And that's kind of on WWE side. Like, all right, somebody should have been there to like kind of culture of how the community is, kayfabe, all that. You know what I'm saying?
But too, they also usually ask. But then again, I guess it's different between talent versus employee, quote unquote.
Right.
But they'll look over things and they'll say, "Hey, can you send me all the stuff you've done, or can you take down this? Can you take down that?" You know what I mean?
Right.
I've interviewed or recorded matches with current WWE talent, and before they didn't tell me where they was going, but they just said, "Hey, can you take this down because this could jeopardize my future employment?"
Right.
And next thing you know, I see the person show up on NXT. So I've done
Right.
that before, but I do think it's unfortunate, like I said, that she doesn't get one, an opportunity to redeem herself.
Right.
Two, how in the world, like, I don't have a problem with her not having wrestling experience, right? Because if she's a writer and she's a creative writer, she can bring in a different mindset that's going to say, okay, I don't watch wrestling, but because this is going on, I'm going to watch. You know what I
Right.
mean? It was the lady who
She can bring some logic to the rest to the freaking storylines.
Yeah, that too.
She's not tainted. That's the best part.
I went into my job as a communication specialist in medicine not knowing nothing. So when I produce these doctors, I don't know science, but here's what I tell them. I'm going to produce it for the lay audience for who don't understand.
Right.
And therefore, when we finish, you're going to give your knowledge, but I'm going to ask you to break it down in a way that the average person can understand rather than in a way that only your colleagues can understand. So
Yeah.
with doing that, this was an opportunity for the WWE to reach a broader audience, you know, and it's not like she's the lead writer. It's not like she's the head
She's
of
not.
creative. So, you know, so like I saw a tweet where people said you should know.
Somebody brought up a point like I think it was either Emilio Sparks or Sean Ross that said everybody's forgetting that only one person have a final say when everything's done written.
Yeah, well, I think I believe Emilio said something. It might not have been him, so forgive me, Emilio, if it wasn't. But I believe he had said something that said having people's livelihoods in your hands, so you should know something. And I kind of disagree with that. I understand where he's coming from, or whoever said it. I understand where they're coming from, but I also understand that they're not the only person.
Right, you know? That's the entire staff.
If it was like if this person had Vince Russo control in 1998. And they was the only person writing, and they had, you know, everybody's career in the palm of their hands. Okay, fine, I get it. But there's an entire writing staff. And quite frankly, I don't know if that's a job I would want to do. Shout out to those that do it. It's got to be the most thankless position next to talent relations. It has to be.
Yeah. We've heard some horror stories on that end about that. But yeah, I just think like just to bring back everything like together, is like the releases. It kind of makes sense. A lot of those people were like just doing anything on 205 Live or just chilling backstage at NXT. Killian Dane, when was the last time we seen him with what's this guy's name again that he was with? I'm drawing a blank.
Me too. But I did see something.
You know who he's talking about? Like Killian Dane was with the other guy that got fired last year. They brought back because fan uproar. But
what's his name? Renee Michelle's
I'm saying Spud in my head. I know it's not Spud.
Right.
But you know what
Drake
I'm talking
Maverick.
about. Like,
thank you, Brian.
Drake Maverick. Thank you. Like I'm drawing a blank. To be honest, like it's so much. I watch NXT here and there. You already know what I do about Raw. Like I hit you guys up like, hey, should I watch? Yes or no? SmackDown, I'm kind of fading from because
it's been a long day, Brian. It's been a long day.
Listen to me. So you know how we're doing the fantasy draft, and I've been doing the points these past couple of weeks. Do you know that Roman dominates this show? Like he's on it for 60 to 75% of the time of the 2 hours, and like who has him? I think who has Roman?
Those wrestling girls, because they took him because you
so they be
us to take him.
Right. So those wrestling girls for Roman alone every Friday night get like 50 to 60 points without having a match, just because he shows up and talks.
I forgot about that. See, God dang it, Britt.
You know what I'm saying? Like that shows how much. And just doing those points shows who gets how much TV time. And that's what I'm like, yo, are you serious? Yeah, it's not. It's not. Bianca comes out for like one segment and she's gone for the night. That's basically everybody that's not in a storyline with Roman. So why do I want to sit there and watch? As much as I've enjoyed this, anybody that knows me, I'm not a big fan of Roman, but I've enjoyed this version of Roman.
I like it, so it don't bother me, but I understand where you're coming from.
But like, I don't want to sit there and watch 70% of the show about that.
I did acknowledge Roman, Brian. He is the tribal chief. I just acknowledge you.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to sit and spend my Friday night watching everything about Roman. like that's what it comes down to. Everybody hates Roman. That's what
T5 the Great. Shout out to T5 the Great says Roman's the only interesting thing.
Because they don't spend time with nobody else. How can you develop stories if you don't get them time?
And that's the thing too, because everything like you go back and look at the you look at everything on the Attitude Era. And
everybody got time.
Everybody had ample amount of time, even if it was like a backstage segment, and you saw, you would be going to, what's his name? You would be going to one match, and then you saw Hardcore Holly picking it up, their storyline from earlier in the night. Shout out the fan watching. He said, "Fellas, what it is, so that's the thing. Everybody got time. Where We're not getting that time, you know.
The tag team got time. The mid card got time.
And
The
you got
lower
social
card got.
media, so it's no excuse.
Everybody had a storyline from the time the show started to to the time the show ended.
Maybe we need Russo back.
Yo.
You know, no, see, here's the thing, right? So everybody's hard on Vince Russo because
they
of
are the downfall.
The WCW stuff. We gotta admit, Vince McMahon was the perfect filter for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Vince McMahon was the perfect filter for him.
They were like the perfect yin and yang.
Bingo. You know, so I don't dislike him. I've read his book also, so you know, I've seen how he's changed his life. Even though you would never know sometimes the way he comes off, but
right.
I have no issues with him.
Yeah, I don't like the whole Vince Russo situation. I understand when it came down to like WCW because I read Bret Hart's book and I see how Bret Hart attacked that side of it.
Mm-hmm.
But like he wasn't that bad. He tried to do good. It isn't like he was just trying to outdo Vince and he overdid it. That was basically what it came down to.
Yeah. Even
That's
though
what
he told Tony Khan, he made the ratings move up a point when he got to
Why is everybody taking everything Tony Khan serious? This man is like trolling you guys, and y'all fall for it every single time.
Because it's annoying. Just focus on your product. Like that's like, all right, you a podcaster, I'm a podcaster. All right, we got a few podcasters listening. That's like every time we do something or somebody else do a podcast, we jump and say, well, hey, I do this too, even though it's like, you know, you trolling and coming back at them. It's like, yo, just focus on your own product.
But here's the thing. I'm gonna be on
I know it's Mr. AEW.
No, I'm gonna be on Public Enemies podcast.
It's funny, I'm just finishing up their show.
Like I'm gonna be there this upcoming Wednesday. After AEW. Because I told him like the hate that the AEW gets is like crazy. So I'm gonna give you like a snippet of what one of my arguments is. Like people criticize that AEW mentions WWE all the time, but you guys forget that the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, those guys that are in the forefront, and even Cody, he's Bullet Club too. All those Bullet Club guys do the same thing. Think about it. This is what made them the Bullet Club because they straight shoot at everybody. Tama Tonga still does it to this day, and Fantasmo do it all the time. Nobody complains about those guys.
I was annoyed when they was doing it.
But that's my thing is that's their shtick. That's the Bullet Club in general. Like when Finn Balor was there, that's what he did. When AJ was there, that's what he did. They still do it now from time to time. That's who they are. That's what makes them the Bullet Club.
They have the wrestling to back it up, so you're not just focusing on that. You know,
but
shout
so
out
you
to
trying
Peter
to
coming on.
But so I'm saying, so you trying to say that Kenny Omega, Young Bucks, and Cody can't wrestle?
No, what I'm saying is I'm saying they have the wrestling to back it up. Tony Khan doesn't have the wrestling to back it up.
Well, he sees it working. Like his thing is like, it works. So
wasn't he saying he wasn't going to be a worker? Wasn't he going to be behind the scenes? We wasn't going to be worried about him.
Man,
and then all of a sudden,
never say never. Never say never.
Oh, definitely in this business.
Never say never. He's learning. Never say never. That's why everybody's like taking it hard. Like, well, he said this and that. But you're as a fan, when it comes to wrestling in period, never say never. That's the mantra.
Mm-hmm. Now let me ask you this. Oh crap! I had it on my mind while I had you here. It was something, and it just slipped.
Is it AEW related? WWE
I feel like
released?
It was, but I God dang it.
Is it Cody Rhodes, Young Bucks, Kenny Omega? I do this a lot when people forget. I start throwing out mad stuff to see if you get catch on in your brain. Yeah. What else is AEW related? John Moxley.
And I think I done lost
Andrade, Big Show, Mark Henry. What else happened this past week?
Yeah, it's gone. Let me ask you this though. Shout out! I had Black Wrestling on, Wrestling for the Culture this past week. Did you get a chance to check out the BRP 50?
I saw most of it, and then I saw like a glimpse of the top 10. My girl's number one. That's why that matters.
Yeah,
my girl number one.
No,
I don't respect her name.
Yeah, that was the thing I was going to ask you about. Well, not that, but I wanted to know. Sasha's number one. I think it's unanimous. I know that they said that on the show they said that in the conversation. But when you really think about it, I think Sasha Banks is the number one wrestler of 2020-2021.
Like, there's no argument about that, male or female, to be honest with you. Like, she
And the
held
only
it
reason why I
down.
give her edge over Roman is because she did it longer.
She did it longer, and Roman took a break. She didn't take no break. She held it down from the moment this pandemic started to the time that this pandemic. I agree with Bailey. She did, but you gotta understand, it's not just about wrestling. Like, this girl did a whole show. Matadorian got an
That's
Emmy. Like,
what
she
gives
got
her the edge.
she got that Emmy award, and her matches were more fire than Bailey's. I'm not gonna hold you. Like,
Ooh.
this, let's keep it honest. Like,
Yeah, when you think about her and
Shorty gets
Oscar,
down.
on Raw on the pay per
Right,
view.
right. Like
Bailey
Sasha.
Bailey did her thing though. I gotta give
Yeah, no. Bailey definitely did her thing. She did, but she
Are
did
you a
not.
fan of heel Bailey? Because I hear people complaining.
Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be honest with you, when they said that they talk about bringing her heel, I was
Mhm.
like, I don't know if she's able to pull this. This is Bailey. Like, this is like the people's champ. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is for
Yeah.
the people. And then when she pulled the way she's pulling this off and continue to pull this off,
Mhm.
you can't deny it. She's very great as a heel. It'll be interesting to see how she turns back to her face or she just stays like this. I wouldn't mind seeing her to stay like this.
Yeah, I want to see her stay like this for a while. When you think about her, it was a couple years ago. She was on Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast, and she talked about needing to change. And she said, I
Yeah.
don't know, what do I do? Maybe I cut my hair or something. And it was kind of like just throwing it out there. Like she was throwing stuff, and her and Austin was exchanging information. So when she
Yeah.
showed up, and this was like a year and a half later, she showed up. I
Yeah.
said, oh boy, this is going to be good. And you
Yeah.
starting to see like she got the chops. And I got to give the 4 horsewomen credit. And the crazy thing is, right? Charlotte will probably go down as the greatest women's wrestler, maybe by the masses, right?
By the masses, yes. Yeah, sure.
She's the only one, in my opinion, that can't play both sides.
She can't.
I don't think she's a good baby face.
To me, I think she's overhyped. They call her the most what was it, superiorly athletic. Hi, Bianca.
Genetically superior.
We're genetically superior because genetics is Ric Flair, who couldn't even do anything off the top rope, but all right. Like, she genetically superior at most athletic, but Bianca's on the roster. And the crazy thing is, in my opinion, Sasha and Asuka don't have it in their bloods, but they're better than her. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the whole stick with Charlotte, the way they prop her up sets her up for failure. And I think she started realizing that, and she doesn't really like being like propped up like they're propping her up anymore. She's like, all right, I'm starting to realize this was not a good idea, guys. You can tell like the way you know what I'm saying? After a while, it's like, all right, like you made me win all these titles, and now I have done enough to do.
Did she need to go away for a while?
She tried it. What is there left for her to do? Like, she's gonna win Money in the Bank. She like that's the only thing that she's left hasn't done yet is win Money in the Bank.
Right.
She won a tag team title. She won the titles altogether like 15,000 times. She done won the Royal Rumble. What is it left for her to do? And she did it all in the span of like 3 years?
Exactly.
Like, so they kind of like shot her in the foot ASAP. Shout out to DJ Fire Queen from Brooklyn. All right, East Coast. But yeah, like it's just overall, I feel like back to the lady at hand, I feel like Sasha doesn't get as much credit as she deserves.
What's up, DJ Fire Queen? Appreciate you coming on. My bad. My daughter. You know how it is.
It's cool. Yeah.
Appreciate you holding it down, brother.
That's why I did the shout out for you. I was like, hold on. He got it on mute. I got you. But yeah, like she's Emmy nominated. Who on the roster is Emmy nominated?
Right.
Are they gonna even mention that on SmackDown?
I hope. But yeah,
they barely mentioned the Maladorian.
Yeah, but
they did it the week after she was on the show. Talking about she was on the show this past week. Haha, and they kept it moving.
I thought Corey Graves was mentioning it.
Nah. Okay. They didn't. They played it down because she got it on her own name.
Yeah, but this makes the company look good. So the Emmy,
we'll see. We'll see because when she got the movie on her own, and they're not happy. They was not happy about that.
Yeah,
they was not happy about it because they didn't mention it. Not the week it was coming up. They did literally the week after. I think they gave it like 2-3 seconds. Like, hey, shout out to Sasha Banks who's on the Matador this past Sunday, and then kept it moving.
Well, Disney and Fox. So
Nah, they was mad because it wasn't underneath the Sasha Banks name. It was under Mercedes.
That
That's
too, I give you that.
they was like, nah, we ain't getting no check for this. Bet.
But yeah, you know,
And now she's getting the Emmy nomination without your help.
right. Well, she's definitely like my wife was watching it and she was like, "Oh, she's good," and I was,
Yeah.
you know, I'm one of the few wrestling fans that's not in the comics,
Right.
so I ain't see it. So you know,
I'm not big on comics either. Like I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't really watch it. I plan to because it's her.
okay.
It's wifey. But um well, I'm planning to watch it. But yeah, like that's just the things that I don't like. I understand that she gets a lot of backstage heat because of the person that she is, and she's not very much of a people's person.
Mhm.
But I feel like the heat that she gets is also not very necessary. Like we had
Yeah,
that
I agree.
conversation in that chat. It was just like, it's just like, yo, you don't know this person personally. You don't know what the person goes through. If they're trying to better themselves, how do you still hold
Mhm.
it against them? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so to me, I feel like, and then they use her. Like the company use her for everything. She does promotion. She puts people over. She's doing like freaking BET stuff. Like, but she's not getting the recognition that she deserves.
That's why I was happy that now, you know, she had that last title run, because
Yeah,
we waited and we waited for it for so long and we finally got it. So I was happy she was finally able to get one.
she should have won at WrestleMania, but we know why she didn't. It's okay.
Oh, you thought she
It's
should have
okay.
won?
Yes, she deserved her moment. Like, what you mean? My man's like, she's been at that roster for. She's been on that roster for how long? And did Bianca get a moment before she does? No,
I'm
when she
not
lost.
mad. I was good
Let me
either
tell you.
way.
Let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. My wife doesn't watch wrestling all the time, but she'll watch like pay-per-views with me.
Yeah.
When Sasha lost to Bianca, she likes Bianca. She loves Bianca. She loves Sasha. The first thing she said, like, wait, so the rookie beat the vet? How did that happen?
Yeah, that's true. But where would we have gone though?
Listen to me though. Like Bianca didn't have a match on that roster before that. And the first big pay-per-view that you got, you won.
It was Royal Rumble.
Official match.
That's
Official
what you mean.
match.
I think if it was a SummerSlam, it would be different.
Right.
But because
That's
she
what I thought
won
it was
the
going to do.
Rumble,
I thought it was going to let her run it back at SummerSlam and capture it, give Sasha her moment at WrestleMania, give Bianca her moment at SummerSlam, and keep it rocking. Like Sasha deserves a WrestleMania moment.
She do, but you knew once the merchandise came out.
Yeah. But like to me, it was just like, yo, she put your entire roster, like the entire division on her back. She's been your first in everything. Mm-hmm. Like I think she was the first entry into the Royal Rumble, and she lost that.
Yeah, and that's why she'll go down. That's why she was able to get these gigs on her own. And before you know it, she'll be like The Rock.
No, she's not. Look at this. Who did you say is going to be going down as the greatest wrestler of all time for women? Who did you just say?
No, everybody's going to say Charlotte, but
right.
People know. Pay attention. We know.
We know.
And I ain't gonna lie, it took me a while to be as big of a Sasha fan as I am because for a while I always thought Bianca did Sasha better than Sasha. It wasn't until this title reign where to me she having the belt legitimized her being the boss. Before it was like, why are you the boss? It felt inauthentic. But now she's walking around
because it kept making her lose everything.
Yeah, but even just it didn't feel. It didn't feel right
because it made her lose. It was without you realizing
I see what you're saying.
Without you realizing it, them constantly making her lose diminished her boss role. Because how you gonna be a boss and you're always losing? You don't have no gold. Think about it.
Yeah, right. But we did see her develop. You know what I mean?
So
if you go in ring, we stopped seeing her rush and botch stuff. You know what I mean? And I don't like to say botches too much. I don't because it's one. I'm not a wrestler. You know what I mean?
I get that, but the stigma with the botching is part of the stigma of her being her. She didn't botch more than or less than any other woman on that roster, in my opinion.
I was going there, bro.
Okay.
But I'm just saying,
again, it's like because that's the stigma that stick to her.
I know that's your.
But it's like
I know.
I gotta defend her. Like this is like Sasha. Like to be honest with you, Charlotte botched more than Sasha, and sometimes Becky botched more than Sasha because Sasha was who she is. That's what we're stuck to.
But the thing is, though, I still saw when she came back, you could see the moment she came back, she was a brand new person She was the
More
rebirth
focused.
of Sasha. Yeah, more focused, more passionate. She had that fire back, So that was the thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, let me get ready to get out of here, man.
Me too. I gotta pick up my wife. Like this wasn't supposed to happen. I'm like, yo, I'm supposed to be doing shirts right now. It's all right.
Oh man. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for jumping in.
Thank you for having me, man.
My brother Blue, thank you for joining. I appreciate it.
No problem, man.
We obviously we're gonna do this again. I'm pretty sure tons of times before the year's out. Shout out to Jenna of the Mixed Tag Show. Shout out to the real Dwayne Allen of the Wrestling Realm. Make sure y'all subscribe to the Wrestling Realm, the Mixed Tag Show on all social media platforms. Until the next time, too sweet.